Alright y'all, now that I have all the whole front stack measured out and everything, it measures to spec, like the amount of thrust that this thing has. It measured 2.5 mils, which falls within spec, the front end plate. It's supposed to be from 1.6 to 2.8 mils, and mine measured 2.5, so we're good there. Nice. I'm gonna go ahead and seal up the front end. Instead of using the stock S5 front gasket and the nylon and O-ring configuration to seal up the front end, I hear that they have a lot of leak issues using the paper gasket, and then that these O-rings configuration tend to fail, and then you lose oil pressure, and then which leads to other issues. So I decided to get the RX-8 gasket, which is this metal gasket. This metal gasket actually fits over everything pretty nicely. It does have to get modified. So look, there's the RX-8 gasket on the S5 front plate, but you see how this hole right here, there is no actually mount hole on the S5 plate, so I would have to trim that. And then this other section too, I'll just have to trim it here and here. I'll keep the water pump, the water housing gasket, but I'll trim it here and here. And so now the next concern is it sealing here. Look, if I lift this up, you can see the indent on the S5, how there's a drop. The O seal there actually fits inside that drop, which I'm a little concerned about, that it might not crush and seal. So I measured the thickness of this gasket, the actual thickness, and the thickness of that gasket ended up being 28 mils. But then where it drops right there, you see how there's that step, the inner diameter has a deeper step. That depth ends up measuring 32.5 mils. So that depth is more than the thickness of the material. So I don't think it's gonna crush that O-ring and seal. I was looking up online, and some people were saying that they have issues with this gasket. Maybe it's because they have the wrong configuration. Like maybe they put the nylon and the O-ring and the gasket, or maybe they just have the O-ring and the gasket. Whatever the case may be, maybe that's the reason why. But I've also read that some people have good results, and I have not seen a video, so I figured I would post one to finally end this controversy on what you need to put on to use the RX-8 front gasket.
Okay.
I wouldn't do this to your own car just yet, because I'm finishing this rebuild. So what if I finish it and then I go to start my car and then I don't have oil pressure? So don't try it just yet. Give it like a month or two, and I'll update it in the description if it ends up working and if my oil pressure ends up being good. If the oil pressure ends up being bad, that means I'll have to take that front cover off while it's in the car, and I risk fucking up the front stack because there's some spacers there and some bearings that could potentially misalign and get crushed as I torque it back down. I know that was a lot of talking, so I'm gonna mark where I want to cut this thing, and then I'll show you guys. So I'm gonna cut it right here. I'm gonna cut it right here and here, and then I'm gonna cut it right here and right here. So look, that's where I'm gonna cut it. I marked it here. I'm gonna cut this off. This piece is off. I want to cut above that indent, so I make sure it seals good there when I crush it down. And then these sections off. Okay, I'm gonna see if these are good enough snippers. They're not. Let me see if these are. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna use these metal shears here. Yep. There goes that one. Alright, y'all, there it is. All cut up. And so, this is what it looks like now. Pretty flush. This is how that part looks like. You see it's still, there's still that indentation, so it should crush seal. Only that when I go to torque this down, I'm gonna put a little bit of RTV on these corners, so I don't have issues with oil seeping through here, because there's a bit of dead space here and here. Now I'm gonna pull off that front pulley part, put the front cover, and then torque everything down to spec, and then hopefully we have no oil pressure issues because of this. I have a feeling that this gasket is gonna crush around the outer edge enough where I'm not gonna have oil issues. But if I do have oil issues, it's because this indent here didn't get crushed around that metal there that has the step, which I know it won't. I know that part won't get crushed down because I measured the distances and they just it doesn't measure right. So I'm hoping that it's the outer part of the metal that pushes hard enough where it seals. So let's see. There it is. It's all put down with that gasket. So as you guys saw, I put some RTV right here on these corners because there was a bit of dead space there. I'm just gonna let that cure and then I'll cut the excess off. But let's see if you guys can see. Since the oil pan isn't on, I can kind of show you guys it's right there where it sandwiches. I don't know, I guess we'll have to find out and see if it leaks or if I get shitty oil pressure, but it seems like it's okay. Like I wiggle the gasket on this side and there's no movement on that on the other side, which gives me hope. But yeah, look, I guess I'll show you guys the end play that this motor has since I already have it done. So it says 0 there, and then if I move the flywheel, so it's not at 0, it's like at 0.5. So we'll move it. Boom, 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 boom. 2.5 right there. 2.5 of total movement. So this is how it looks. I know you guys were just looking at the numbers. This is what it looks like when I was showing you guys. I was just pulling the flywheel up and looking at the gauge move. Those 2.5, which allows things to expand under heat, so things don't seize up and stuff. So it's a pretty important spec that needs to be hit. That's what I was gonna show you guys, just that RX-7 gasket. And again, don't put yours on yet, or don't attempt this just yet until I make sure that I actually get oil pressure, which will be like in a month or two when I finally finish putting everything together. This is just a quick video because I could not find any good references on that. Like, everything was unknown. People were unsure of what to use. The whole point of this is to avoid installing that nylon and rubber O-ring. Not this one, but these. If you're just using a S4 front plate, then it's just the O-ring. But if it's a S5, it's an O-ring and the nylon piece. The whole point of this is so it makes my assembly process easier, because I do plan to rebuild more. And when I do that, I want to minimize the amount of parts that I use, so I minimize the amount of possible failures. I'm not going to film this, but I'm going to install the oil pan and the pickup and all that. Alright boys, hope this helps someone.
Mango. So fresh. So fresh.
Alright, fingers crossed. Let me let the starter cool down a bit, but the pressure was building up. Woo! The last clip that you guys saw was probably like a month and a half ago now, maybe even 2 months. What I was doing at the time was I had put the RX-8 front cover gasket to see if I get oil pressure. And so just to update you guys, I've gotten, let's see if you can see. Yeah, I've driven 484 miles and the oil pressure is like solid, but I also haven't gone full throttle yet. But look, this is idle, the pressure at idle, and I'll show you guys the pressure right now in a bit when I'm driving in the freeway, but it's about like 60 psi, and idle it's about like 40-ish, so that's pretty solid. Yeah, and I mean, I haven't gone full throttle yet because I haven't reached the mileage yet to be able to romp on it. I'm still during the break-in mileage. So supposedly, according to the forums and stuff, with solid corner seals, which is what I have, I need about 500 to 1,000 break-in miles. When I hit like the 500 to 1,000, then I can start bringing up the RPM higher than what I've been doing. So far, I've only been doing no more than 4K. From 0 to 500, I've been doing no more than 4K. After the 500 mark, supposedly from 500 to 1,000, you can go up to 6K. So that's pretty much where I'm at now. I also didn't feel too comfortable with this temperature gauge because it's kind of like not super accurate. So I installed a temp sensor, and I'm pretty happy with the temps. It never really goes above like 195. So yeah, I'll show you guys the oil pressure when I'm in the freeway. Like I said, right now it's like about 40, like 40-ish. I know you guys probably can't see me, but right now, look, I'm at 3,000 RPM, 30 and a half, and oil pressure is like 60 psi. So let me go to a higher gear now, 5th gear right here. Alright, 5th gear. About 2.5 to 3. And we have about 60 PSI. Big chillin'. Yeah, boys. Cruising right now. Let me turn this light off before a freaking cop sees me, but there you go, y'all. Oil pressure's pretty solid so far with 486 miles now. So I would say that gasket is pretty successful without no Teflon piece or O-ring or rubber O-ring. But do it at your own risk. Maybe I got lucky. The ultimate test would be when I go drifting, and let's see if it maintains oil pressure during when I'm drifting high RPM, or when the engine's fully broken in and I can go all the way full throttle. Boys, sorry you guys probably can't see anything, but